All right, welcome everybody. As you're joining our scorecard, we run on EOS, sorry, not scorecard, VTO, we run on EOS webinar today. Welcome. We have a lot of people registered. I can see you all joining us. We are here to sharpen the saw on one of the 5 foundational tools called the VTO. If you'd like to get engaged via chat, you are welcome to share with us your best guess at what the other 4 foundational tools are. I won't ask Jennifer because I bet she knows the answer to that. We list them a lot. It's how you get to 80% strong in EOS. Oh, yeah. Love that. Accountability chart, Tim. Nicely done. So we got the VTO and accountability chart. Any other guesses, folks? What are our 5 foundational tools in EOS? VTO, accountability chart, scorecard. People analyzer and delegate awesome tools, not part of the 5, folks. Rocks, yes. And I haven't seen the last one yet. Oh, the L10, you guys got it. The meeting pulse, awesome, nicely done. So we are gonna focus in on the VTO today. We are really happy to have you here. Feel free to pop the chat as well where you're Zooming from today. Where are you Zooming from, Jennifer? You wanna share with everybody where you're at?
Absolutely, I am joining you today from Boise, Idaho.
Nice, and I am in Phoenix today. We've got some people up north in Calgary, Connecticut Shore. I'm originally from Maine, so love the New Englanders. Shout out to you. Gloucester, Mass. Awesome. Virginia, Kenya. Oh, love Africa. LA. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Okay, we are 1 minute in, and in EOS we start on time, and so I'm already late. So I am going to start us off here. As mentioned, we are here to sharpen the saw on the VTO today. So thank you all for joining us. We run these webinars so that we can help people to deepen their skills and get some great pro tips on how to run the 5 foundational tools even better. So I am here with my friend Jennifer Deroyne. She's going to be our facilitator today. She will introduce herself in a little bit. I'm just going to run through some of our quick housekeeping before Jennifer shows us her show. Let's see. First up, our session today is being recorded. And so great news. If you registered, you are going to get the recording afterwards. Be patient with us. It might take a couple weeks so that we get it all fine-tuned and perfect for you to be able to share with your leadership teams and your employees, but we will get that off to you via email if you are registered today, and I assume you are because you are here. So this is a webinar format, which means you are going to be able to see whomever we have on camera. That's me and Jennifer right now. We won't be able to see you, but we love to have you engaged with us. So if you could please use the reactions, the emojis, we love all that stuff. Oh, thank you. Hearts, thumbs up, all that good stuff. We want to see that so we can see what's resonating. We also have 2 other ways you can interact with us. One is through the chat and one is through the Q&A. And I'm going to beg you to use these the right way, folks, because it'll help me to answer your questions better and to get to the right things later in the Q&A with Jennifer. So first up, the chat is more for like, if you have a specific question about EOS or something on our software or something like that, that our great colleagues from EOS in the background can answer for you. The Q&A is questions that you have about the VTO for Jennifer. We are going to leave about 20 minutes at the end for us to answer your Q&A questions. I will occasionally, if we get too many questions, I will start to answer some of them by typing in the answer, but we'd really like to share what we can for that last 20 minutes. So you get a chance to ask Jennifer some different questions specific to your company or ways to deepen some of the things that you learned today. So I think that I have covered all the basics. Let me make sure here. All right, so quick intro of who I am. I am Megan Piper. I am a certified EOS implementer. I focus on distributed teams, so I spend all my days on Zoom, just like this. I love being here with you. I'm going to turn things over to my friend Jennifer. She will let you know a little bit about her, and she will teach you a lot about the VTO. I will see you all in the Q&A and the chat in a little bit. Take it away, Jennifer.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate your intro and kicking us off. I am so excited to be here with you. As I mentioned earlier, I'm Jennifer Deroyne. I am a certified EOS implementer coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and I'm so excited to talk today about my favorite subject, my topic of EOS. And as Megan mentioned today, we're going to go deep into the Vision Traction Organizer. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here and begin our presentation. Okay, so you should see my slide now, Vision Traction Organizer. let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. So we're going to talk about the Vision Traction Organizer basics, and a little bit time on the basics, making sure we're all coming right from an understanding of the tool and its intent. Then I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into various aspects of the VTO. So regardless of whether you're new to EOS and you're just beginning to get exposed to this, or maybe you've been running on EOS, hopefully you're going to pick up some nuggets today as we go through this, depending upon where you're at in your journey. And then we're going to have Q&A time at the end to answer your specific questions. So make sure you're queuing those up, setting those to Megan so that we can prepare to answer those at the end of our time together today. So before we dive into that VTO, I want to take a quick look at the model. So EOS is a set of simple, practical tools designed to help us do three things that we call vision, traction, and healthy. So vision from the standpoint that we're working to get you and your leadership team on the same page around where you're going and how you're going to get there. Traction from the standpoint that we're helping your leaders become more disciplined and accountable, executing really well to achieve every part of your vision. And healthy in that we're creating open, honest, cohesive, fun-loving teams, right? Because sometimes we're not. And then what we find is that as go you, go they, we get to a place where everybody in your organization is 100% on the same page with your vision. We're executing on that vision with discipline and accountability, and we're working together as a cohesive bunch of people. So how do we do that? We do that by strengthening what we call the 6 key components. So let's talk about the model. I've already mentioned this vision component, getting on the same page around where we're going and how we're going to get there. Of course, we can't execute on that vision without really great people. So we get really clear on what that means in your unique organization. We get stronger in the data component. That's about making sure that we're using hard facts, figures, objective information to make great decisions versus sometimes the subjective or emotional information we use to make decisions. And then what we find is when we get strong in the vision, the people, and the data component, our organization becomes transparent. And some of those issues that were kind of bubbling up underneath, right, that surface, they begin to show themselves. And so we have to get strong at smoking those issues out, solving them at their root, making them go away for good, the issue component. The process component is about us systemizing this organization, about doing our most important processes, our core processes, the right and best way every single time. That makes us more scalable, sustainable, easier to manage, more profitable, all of those good things. And then finally, the traction component, right? There's no coincidence that vision is at the top, traction is at the bottom, right? Vision without traction is a hallucination, as we like to say. So traction is about instilling that discipline so that we can really execute on that vision. All right, so as you know, we're here today to talk about the Vision Traction Organizer. So we're going to go deeper into this vision component. In each one of the 6 key components, we have 2 tools or disciplines that we use to get stronger. So the first tool that we use in the vision component is what we refer to as the 8 questions, which is a simple 2-page document that answers 8 critical questions that help us align the leadership team, get all of our energy going in one direction, and create clarity throughout our organization. So let's take a look at that document. The first page of the document is the vision page. This is the vision for where we're going. And to help us create a clear picture around what that is, we answer what are our core values, what is our core focus, what is our 10-year target, our marketing strategy to create demand, and what is our organization going to look like 3 short years from now. I'm going to take a deeper dive into each one of these areas of the vision page of the VTO. We then have page 2. So this is now our plan on how we're going to make that future vision we have for ourselves a reality. Our 1-year plan, rocks, and our issues list. So let's take a deeper dive. The first question we answer on the VTO is core values. Of course, you've heard of core values before. They're essential guiding principles that help define and create the culture that we want in our organization. We want to get to a place where we have 3 to 7 core values that help really define those guiding principles. So we go through a process of discovery. We determine what really are the unique core values in our organization. by looking at the people that we have in our organization, looking at some of those star performers and calling out some of the traits that we really admire about them, and whittling those down to a short list of 3 to 7 core values that are important for us. So first we go about discovery. Then we say, we've got to now define this. So if I say extreme excellence, what that means to me, what that means to you can be different things. So we want to get really clear on what that meaning is. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that in part 2 of this presentation. Next, we're going to ask, what do we do? What are the processes that we live and lean into to really help us live and breathe these core values? How do we make sure that we really operationalize these core values? Again, I'm going to go deeper into that into part 2 of our presentation today. The next question on the BPO is the core focus. So you've heard terms before, probably like vision, mission. Jim Collins refers to it as hedgehog. Stephen Covey calls it the voice. In EOS, we call this the core focus. This is our sweet spot. It's who we are at our core and what we are going to be focused on, our why for being, and what we're going to be the best at. This is used internally to help us make decisions. This is not marketing language. This is not how we promote ourselves to the outside world. This really helps us decide what we should and shouldn't be doing, and helps to begin form the rest of our strategy as we are on a journey of being a good company to being a great company, helping us make better decisions that align with our core focus. The third question we ask is, what is our 10-year target? So we're getting clear on what do we want from this business. In 10 years, what is this big, audacious goal that we want to achieve? Now, we call it a 10-year target, and that's designed very intentionally. We want to exercise long-term thinking, bigger thinking, and that 10-year time frame allows us to dream and stretch ourselves. Occasionally, a different time frame makes sense for you, and you can decide that what's right for your organization, somewhere 5 to 30 years out, where you're really stretching your thinking. We're going to write this 10-year target smart, being very specific. And, as I watch clients walk through this, I often see them falling into various categories of what this ends up sounding and feeling like. So those categories might be in the category of winning. Maybe it's in the category of helping. Maybe it's in the category of innovation, or perhaps it's in the category of impact. So an example of maybe what that would look like, I had a client who is in the recycling business, and they knew where they wanted to be 10 years out from a revenue standpoint. And they converted that number from revenue to the amount of pounds that they have kept out of landfills. And so by turning and converting that number, it created a 10-year target that clearly demonstrated impact that was in alignment with where they wanted to be. I always tell clients, when we finish this work, it should be exciting. If you feel a little bit nervous about it, you're probably in that right ballpark. You need to believe it's achievable. It should be very exciting and motivating to you. It's your number one business goal that then continues to set the stage for what we need to do next. As I mentioned, it needs to be written smart, specific, measurable. We'll know if we've achieved it. Achievable. It needs to feel like a stretch, and you need to believe it's possible. It needs to be relevant, right? It should align with our core focus. And the time-based, of course, is the decision that you make. What is the right time frame for you? And stating that clearly in your 10-year target. All right, marketing strategy. So we ask 4 questions in marketing strategy that really help us get clear on 2 things. Who are we targeting? And what are we saying to them? So we first ask, who is our target market? We define that demographically, geographically, and psychographically. We then ask, based on who this person is that we're trying to target, what are the 3 uniques that we would like to express to them that help them understand why they should choose to do business with us? What sets us apart from our competitors? When we go into part 2 of this presentation, I'm going to take a deeper dive into this concept. We then ask, are we going to illustrate a proven process? It's a visual illustration that helps explain what the journey looks like from the moment they begin thinking about doing business with us till the time they're a longtime satisfied returning client. What is that journey going to look like? And then we ask, do we have a guarantee? A guaranteed is intended to help remove buying obstacles, to create a little surety, right, in that buying process. So again, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this area in part 2. Now we move to our 3-year picture, and it is just that. It is a picture. We want to create an image in our mind's eye about what our future looks like, about what this organization looks like 3 short years from now. So we predict a future date 3 years from now. We predict revenue, profit, and then we state a measurable. A measurable on this vision traction organizer is less about a goal, and it's more about stating scope and magnitude of growth in a language that everybody speaks in our organization. So an example of that would be, perhaps, if I'm a manufacturing company and I say we're going to be at this many $1 million 3 years from now, I might express that measurable as the number of widgets we're going to produce. So that way, everybody in our organization can understand what this growth looks like. It's a commonly spoken language. And then we go about creating clear bullets around what does it look like 3 years from now. On the journey to our 10-year target, if we're going to be at this place 10 years from now, what must be true 3 years from now? So we're thinking about maybe perhaps markets we're in, the products and services that we're offering, maybe technological advancements, perhaps strategic hires, whatever you believe needs to be true 3 years from now to help move us closer to that 10-year target. That's what we want to illustrate on this 3-year picture. And we want to begin seeing this image in our mind's eye so we have alignment and clarity, and we're all rowing in the same direction towards a future that we all are excited about. So now this brings us to the traction page, page 2 of this document, which is our plan on how to achieve our vision. So we start with our 1-year plan. So we go through that same process. We predict our future date. We choose a revenue goal, a profit goal, and a measurable, that same language that helps express what this growth is going to look like. And then we're going to pick 3 to 7, not 37, 3 to 7 big goals, the most important things that we need to get done this year. Those goals, as we write them, they're going to also be written smart. They're specific, measurable, achievable, and relevant. So when I think about relevance in terms of the 1-year plan, relevancy brings us closer to that 3-year picture. So what is the stepping stone that's going to help bring us closer to our future? And what are the goals that perhaps need to help, that we need to take on, that are going to help solve issues or remove some of the barriers that we may be feeling right now? So when we think about relevancy, is it helping us create that future vision? It's in alignment with that vision, and or it's removing potential barriers that are holding us back, solving those barriers, okay? Now, we now move on to the rock section, right? So rocks are 90-day business priorities. Gino Wickman is a master of taking complex subjects and boiling it down to its simplest form. Everything in EOS has intentional design, and rocks are very true in that regard as well. Gino understood that as humans, we have a hard time focusing on annual goals. So we need to break those into 90-day business priorities. So again, for the quarter, we predict a date, revenue for that quarter, profit for that quarter, measurables for that quarter. And then we pick 3 to 7 rocks for the quarter, 3 to 7 business priorities. So we're crystal clear on what we're focused on executing in the next 90 days to move us closer to our 1-year plan. Okay, these are also written smart, specific, measurable, achievable, their relevancy, they're moving us closer to that annual goal, and they're time-based. This is what makes the execution possible. I was having a great conversation with a banker the other day. We're sitting together at lunch, and he was telling me once a year we're going in and we're doing our strategic planning, but they didn't have this system for execution. So then he said, and then we come back here the next year and we talk about the same stuff, right? So it's kind of that circle of madness. Rocks are the magic that make possible the execution of that 1-year plan, which makes possible the execution of that future vision. We then move to this issues list. The issues list is a place for us to be able to inventory the things that we need to solve that maybe it isn't the right time right now. So when we think about, here's these big 3 to 7 goals that we need to achieve this year, there's going to be some other ideas or other thoughts we have out there of things that we need to focus on. This is a place to inventory them. There's therapy in recognizing them, seeing them and saying, I see you, we acknowledge these issues. We are going to solve those in the future at the right time, right? We're going to be good predictors, choosing the right priorities at the right time. So this is our place to be able to inventory those and solve them when the time is appropriate. So that brings me back to the vision component and these 8 questions. The second discipline on the vision component is getting this vision shared by all. That starts with phase 1, an EOS rollout. So Megan talked before about those 5 foundational tools. So in this EOS rollout, we want to equip our team with the tools that they need to turn this vision into reality. So it is those 5 foundational tools, the VTO, your accountability chart, rocks, a meeting pulse, and a scorecard. Next, we want to continue to share with everybody in this organization this vision. So we ask you to come together every 90 days, get your team in a room and share this vision with them. Where we've been, what did we learn in the last 90 days? How did we do? Where are we now? How are we on track? Resharing that VTO, right? Telling it in story form, bringing everybody along, and then talking about where are we going? What are the next 90 days going to look like? So we're helping everybody understand how we did, where we're at, what our priorities are, and then we go back into the business and we work like heck for another 90 days. So that's how we get this vision shared by all with everyone. All right, let's go into phase 2 of this presentation, where we're going to take a deeper dive into a few of the questions on the Vision Traction Organizer. So I wanted to come back to core values. We talked about discovering them. Then we talked about defining them. So I'd like to take a moment and go deeper into defining them. So we ask our clients to write a core value speech. So step 1 is you have this core value concept. So I call that a working title. And I really encourage people to take that working title and turn it into a final title. So let me give you an example. So if I have a client that says, okay, positivity is one of our core values. I'm going to give you an example of a client who has a trucking company, and they turned that core value into positivity by the truckload. They had another core value that was around being respectful. They changed that language to do unto others. So they used language that was maybe more meaningful for them, that was unique for them and their organization, that they really embraced. So step 1, what do we really want that core value description or that title to be? Then we get really clear on that meaning. When I say positivity by the truckload, what does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? And now what we have done is we have equipped our team to be able to make decisions on how they're behaviorally going to show up. So this is where we talk about living and breathing these core values. Sometimes in some organizations, core values might feel a little bit like lip service, right? They're listed on our website, they're on our conference room wall, and that's kind of it. We really don't talk about it. We're not asking people to live into those. And this is where we really begin to operationalize them. We want to make sure that we're hiring to these core values. So we're asking questions to discern if people align with them. We want to review, reward, and give some feedback to people around what does it look like and how are you showing up and into this? So I'd love to talk about how we can recognize people when we see somebody doing something well in our organization. Can we recognize them publicly? So if Sally just did a great job, if one of my core values is create wow experiences, and Sally created a wow experience, I want to recognize her publicly. And I want to talk about how she leaned in, lived, and exemplified that core value. Now I've just coached Sally because she wants to do more of that, right? And we've also coached everybody else that was hearing that. So making sure that we're talking about these regularly, giving people guardrails when we deliver this core value speech, clarity on what it means, but also sometimes what it doesn't mean. It means we don't do this. It means we don't gossip. We don't create drama, right? Just really helping them get clear. And then every time you do that state of the company, you're resharing this information in a way that connects to their heart and their head. I'd love to share a story around a client I was watching who was rolling out their core values speech. The visionary had created a fun little animation video, and she's going through this core values speech. And I'm sitting in the back of the room, and she talks about this one particular core value. And then she says, like the time when Grace did da 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 da. And I can see Grace in front of me, and she sits so tall in her seat, her face just lights up. And I thought about the positive impact and the ripple effect that just that single little statement that was created in that core value speech, the magnitude of impact that was going to create. The more that you can do this, the more that you can be passionate about the importance of this, you'll create a culture. People are going to make decisions about what they should and shouldn't do, and a culture is created. So really thinking about how are we going to operationalize these core values? All right, I want to go a little bit deeper into core focus. So I talked about the purpose, cause, and passion. This is our why. Why are we here? Again, really connecting your heart and head. So I want to give you another example. Prior to becoming an EOS implementer, I was running a professional services firm, and we were implementing EOS. And our purpose, cause, and passion, our why, was fulfilling legacies. We served entrepreneurial organizations. Now, I knew what that meant to me. I understood that an entrepreneur builds a business, and that's a huge part of who they are and their legacy in life. I also knew, and that I happened to be in an accounting firm, I was hiring accountants, and I'm hiring these young kids coming out of school, and they're all excited. They see their future, and their professional career is a big part of their legacy. So for me, I understood that if I was helping them do that well, if I was helping them live their legacy, they're going to take great care of the clients, these entrepreneurs building their legacy, and in turn, the firm's legacy is also fulfilled. So I really understood the passion behind that for me and could articulate that to our team. And so I want you to stop and think about this and why this matters. There are three types of motivation in the world. There is incentive-based motivation. If you do this, you'll get that. There's fear-based motivation. If you don't do this, this is what's going to happen to you. But the most powerful form of motivation is cause-based motivation. We are doing this thing in the world, and it is awesome. Do you want to come along with me? So if you get a team of people excited about this purpose and they're passionate about this thing we're doing in the world, you're unstoppable, right? So just, I want you to think about this, connect your head and your heart to this, be able to articulate this to other people and help them see themselves in this picture. We have a purpose, cause, and passion checklist to help you on your journey to creating this. So asking yourself, is this purpose, cause, and passion stated in 3 to 7 words? Is it written in simple language? Again, this is not marketing. This is internal. It should be big and bold. It should elicit an aha effect from you. You feel the importance of it. It comes from your heart. It involves everybody in the company. It's not about money, and it's bigger than a goal, okay? So this list is contained in the book Traction. You can find it there. But just asking yourself, can I say yes to each one of these? And continue to work on it until you get there. And when you nail it, you know it, right? You're going to know it in your heart, and your gut. All right, coming back to this core focus. Part 2, our niche. What are we going to be the best at? Again, this is not external marketing language. So one of the favorite examples that we like to use in EOS is Orville Redenbacher. His niche was one thing, popcorn. It helped him get really clear. So, if we say, hey, we could maybe make more money if we started selling crackers or jerky or whatever, right? Other snacks. No, he said, we're going to be the best at this. We're going to dominate in this area. That helps us make decisions. We should do this or we shouldn't do that. And then it's going to form our strategy. As we think about our 10-year target, as we think about our 3-year picture, we're asking ourselves, is this helping us become the best at this, right? So what are the things that we need to do to become the best at that, right? So continuing to work on that so you feel like you love it, you believe it, and you're able to share that with other people authentically. All right, we're going to talk about marketing strategy. I could talk for 40 minutes about marketing strategy. It's one of my favorite tools in the EOS toolbox, but I'm going to talk about it for 4 minutes instead of 40 minutes. Okay. So taking a little bit of a deeper dive. So as I mentioned earlier, there's 3 things we ask: demographic, geographic, and psychographic. So demographic, that's data, true, false, right? 32-year-old first-time home buyer, right? That's true or false data, okay? Geographic, where at? Psychographic, this is the emotions they're thinking and feeling, okay? This, for me, is where all the gold is in this process. So when we think about the sales process, anytime people are purchasing a product or service, rationally it has to make sense in their brain, right? You got to connect the dots. You got to talk about what it is you're doing, the features, the benefits, and all the things. But at the end of the day, people make a buying decision based on emotions because of something that they're afraid of or because of something that they wish for, that they want in their life. They're going to make that ultimate decision on emotion. So when we think about psychographics, when I'm working with my clients, I'm asking them to think about it through that lens. What are they thinking and feeling? What are they maybe afraid of, or what do they wish for? So when they do that work, they begin writing down those concepts. And then I am asking them to say, okay, based upon demographically what we know about them, geographically where they are, and these psychographics, these emotions that are going on for them, I want you to write your 3 uniques through the lens of how do we solve that psychographic dilemma they're feeling? How do we solve their fears? How do we make possible their wishes? When those 3 uniques can clearly state why us versus our competitors, and when they can respond to that psychographic, they are very, very powerful. In addition to this, oftentimes when I'm doing this exercise with clients, where I see them wander into is what I would call an ideal client, right? So that might look like they share my core values, right? They value us as their trusted partner or things like that. I think that's also very powerful to identify that and understand that, and just know that oftentimes that language comes out in this exercise, and recognizing that's an ideal client avatar we've created in terms of what we like about them. And so I think that's important to understand too. That often comes out throughout these 2 exercises. So we've gotten clear on who, we've now gotten clear on the 3 uniques, and we're going to try to tap into what's emotionally going on for them. We now want to create a proven process. This, again, is a tool that I think is sometimes underutilized. And so I really, is my passionate plea to you is to lean into this. I'm going to share with you the EOS proven process. This is the visual illustration that helps somebody deciding, do I want to implement EOS with a professional implementer? If so, what would that look like? So this visual illustration helps outline, okay, well, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And this is exactly what it looks like. So it creates this visual imagery, right, around exactly what this looks like, okay? And then the 4th question on there with the guarantee. Now, not everybody chooses a guarantee. It's not always appropriate. You have to decide in your business, can we create a guarantee? And when we say guarantee, a guarantee has teeth on it, right? If I have to honor it, right, we have to honor it, it probably hurts a little bit, right? So we're going to work really hard to deliver. So if a guarantee isn't appropriate in your business, that's okay. You don't have to provide that. But in some cases, it really helped to remove fear, maybe around a product or service that is new in the market, or maybe something they're not familiar with, something so you decide if that's something that you need. Now I want to talk about the application of the marketing strategy. So a lot of my clients they come in and maybe they're more marketing centric, or maybe they're more sales centric, or maybe both apply, right? So I want to talk about now how we utilize this tool and apply this in our business. So earlier we talked about getting clear on the who they are and what we say to them. So if I'm more marketing centric, now I've gotten pretty clear on I have a limited amount of marketing resources. I want to make sure that my message is falling in front of the right eyeball, right? I want to get my traffic in front of the right crowd. So I've gotten clear on that. And I've also gotten really clear on what I'm saying to them, right? With my 3 uniques. And so from here, we can create a lot of content that goes deep in those 3 uniques, but it's the launch pad for that. So that's one way to apply that. The second is now in the sales application. So when I say that in this context, sales is in, I'm looking eyeball to you, and we're talking about whether or not you want to utilize this service. And I just wanted to share my own experience in this. When I mentioned I was at this firm and we had a very niche service, and it was kind of a complex service, but people would say, hey, I think I might want to do business with you. And we jump on a call and I pull this document up and I just walk them through, this is exactly what it's going to look like. It removes all the mystery. And it's just such a powerful sales tool. Most recently, my own husband, who's always kind of been the solopreneur, he decided he wants to grow his business. So we're walking through his BTO. And one of the first things we did was develop his proven process. He was able to use this recently, and he was absolutely mind blown at the power of the message that this shares with your prospective clients. So if this is something that you feel like, man, we could go a little bit deeper here. I hope you heard a couple nuggets in there to help you think about how you could really amplify your marketing strategy. All right, I want to take a second and talk for a moment about rocks. So oftentimes, right, we come in at the quarterly and we're talking about, hey, what worked, what didn't work, and we're looking at revenue, profit, and rock performance measurements. And a common objection or not a common objection, I guess, a frustration is, how do I find the time for these rocks? And I want to take you back to this quadrant. This is Stephen Covey's kind of famous time quadrant from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He wrote this book in 1989. It is still a classic. But what it helps illustrate is the ways in which we use our time. And as we walk into EOS, right, I find that people are hanging out a lot in quadrants 1, 3, and even 4. And rocks are the discipline of learning how to dedicate a portion of our time to quadrant 2, right? Really focused on being effective with proactive work, our important goals, right? Creative thinking, planning, prevention, all of these important things that happen in quadrant 2. This is a skill that you learn how to manage over time. So as you begin this journey, if you're feeling like, man, it's hard for me to balance all this, understand that this will get better in time. As you continue to delegate and elevate, right? As you continue to learn how to find this time, you will learn and build the skills on how to hang out in quadrant 2. Okay. Well, that brings me to the end of the discussion around the actual tool of the Vision Traction Organizer. I'm going to share a software tool that can help enhance your experience here in just a moment. But my plea to you is that as you continue on your journey, right, this is progress, not perfection. You're going to continue to work on this and tweak it and modify it. My hope for you is that you get to a place where you love every single word on this Vision Traction Organizer, and that you are passionate about sharing it with everybody in your organization. So now I'd like to share with you a little video about the EOS One tool and how it can help you organize this utilizing software.
EOS One means everything EOS in one place, including your Vision Traction Organizer. This vital 2-page strategic document is your digital solution to the paper version and is available for your entire company to see. One place for everyone on your team to access your vision and plan. Track its evolution over the years and see where the organization has been, where it is, and where it's going, creating a culture of focus.
If you'd like to learn a little bit more about EOS One, I want you to take a snap of this QR code here. EOS One is the most pure and integrated software designed specifically for the entrepreneurial operating system. It seamlessly consolidates all of your EOS tools, right? That accountability charts, rocks, scorecards, your level 10 meeting into one platform, providing real-time tracking, improved accountability, and ensuring consistent, streamlined implementation of EOS across your businesses. EOS One helps you stay focused, aligned, and helps you execute on your vision effectively as you continue to scale. The first user, it's free, so you can go out and check it out and try that out. I also want to share with you the EOS resources. You can go to eosworldwide.com. There you're going to see all the books in the Traction library. We have 8 today, right? We have Traction, the Mothership, some other exemplary books that help us go deeper in all of those concepts. Invite you to go out and learn more about those. EOS One, the software that I just mentioned. You can download all of the EOS tools in the EOS toolkit directly from the EOS website. And you can also find a directory for EOS implementers if you want to work with a professional EOS implementer. So that concludes my presentation, and we are ready to go into Q&A.
You're ready for some Q&A. That was fantastic, Jennifer. We are all on a journey to EOS mastery, and I got some great nuggets out of your presentation. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Let's see, we have some great questions, and a bunch of people, just to let everyone know, are asking questions about the softwares. I'm going to let our great colleagues in the background answer those. So we're going to stick with the questions that are specifically to the VTO. If you asked a non-VTO question, Megan already answered it in writing. So we have 15 questions we're going to tackle, and I'm going to start with something more generic around like, how do you start even with the vision, Jennifer? Let's see, we have a question. Is there a best time to start the EOS process? My business partner and I want to start, but we may also be bringing in a third person. Like, do we wait? How do we make sure we're aligned? Like, when do we start all this vision work?
Yeah, I always say the best time to start EOS was yesterday. The second best time is today. Yeah, tongue in cheek. So you're bringing in this third person. And so I think, we get this question a lot, is it time? Should I do it now? Should I wait for this thing to happen? Should I wait for that thing to happen? And so, my encouragement is start this process, right? Begin utilizing the tools. We can always bring other people along as we continue on in our journey. Another question we have is, well, should I wait till I hire this person on my accountability chart? We go through this process, you're going to get clear. This process is going to help you get clearer and clearer on who is that hire, what's my next best strategic hire, and when's the right time to do that. So I think creating clarity and alignment, whether it's you as a solopreneur, whether you have one other person in your organization, is always positive. What else would you add to that, Megan?
I think people sometimes think that these tools are like a one and done, and they're a constant evolution. Like, you're always refining them. I had a quarterly with my team because we run on EOS too. We did that last week, and we had an aha moment, and we might change our core target, our 10-year target. Like, these things constantly move. So start, and then you can always evolve it as the company evolves.
Absolutely.
Sort of related to that, Jennifer, somebody has a question around, how do you implement the VTO in a holding organization or organization with a board? Like, how do you have that back and forth between the board and the leadership team?
Yeah. So in my experience with this, whenever there is a board present, I like to ask the leadership team, right, if they have received clear directive from the board in terms of what is the return on this asset that they're asking for? Do they have a risk tolerance? Do they have any equity parameters? I mean, what are the guardrails that the board is providing for the leadership team to be able to then create the strategy that helps deliver on those bigger objectives? Now, sometimes I have had situations where boards want to receive that VTO, and they may provide some feedback, and I get that, and that makes sense. But I always like to start with clarity on those roles and those responsibilities. The same as if we have, for example, owners that maybe aren't actively in the business, just clarity around what are the roles and responsibilities for all parties. So what's the roles and responsibility for the board, the leadership team, right? Owners not in the business. So I kind of treat those the same as we walk through that process. So that's been my experience. Talk to me a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, very similar. And we use the term meeting pulse for a reason. Like you'll also need a meeting pulse with your board. And I have some clients with a board that want that board meeting before their meeting with me. And sometimes it's after. Like it very much depends on who has decision-making authority where. So it'll be unique to each context.
Yeah.
I'm realizing this was actually a multi-part question. There was one piece I didn't ask Jennifer, which was somebody wondered if you have holding companies, do they each have their own VTO? And I'm really curious what you think about that one, because I've had a few experiences with it.
So I have had experiences with multi-brand, right? And so it's that, right, so that exact concept. And so the way that we have approached it, right, after discussion on what's the best way to do this. As a holding company, we have a VTO. And then as we implement with the different brands in these particular organizations, each one of those brands has their own, what we refer to in EOS as a department plan. So they have a 1-year plan, their own set of rocks, right, their own issues list that ladders up to the holding company VTO. So we're all living into the same core values. We have one core focus. We have one big 10-year target. Now that marketing strategy might need to be refined, right, based upon the different brands that are in there, if they have different target markets. And so, and that's really no different than if I am one company that has multiple target markets. So we're just getting clear on who those are. That 3-year picture, right? What are these brands or these entities going to look like? But then letting them have their own department plans. So that's the way that I have implemented that with companies I'm working with, that where that scenario is true. How about you?
I think it's such a great example of how EOS gets very customized in every context. So I've had a few like what you described, and then I've had one group that really each one has a different core focus. And so that's kind of the deciding factor, that they each get their own VTO, but we still need some kind of overarching VTO that guides like this overall group of investments for that holding company. So I think it's very unique in each context. And we've shared a couple of examples, and we're always happy to chat with people about their specific context.
I love what you said there. And that really is the deciding factor, is that core focus, right? In my cases, that core focus was the same. They were all supportive of that. And so that worked. But yeah, that helped to make that guiding decision for the client.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect.
And we had a very related question from Junior. So I'm going to hope that this conversation we just had also helped that one out.
Okay.
We've had a few questions around how does your VTO evolve, or what do you do when you get stuck? So Angela's saying, we created our first VTO about 2.5 years ago. We've unfortunately not moved forward on the growth goals. We're really struggling to find the right people. What's our right 1, 3, and 10-year plan? How do we start again from scratch? Like, how do we actually get going on this VTO?
So I'm maybe making some assumptions in that question, right? So ideally, and if we're operating the system as it's intended, we're coming together every quarter and we're asking, what's working, what's not working, what's holding us back. And then she used the word stuck. And so when we think about why organizations get stuck, we call that hitting the ceiling. So something is, holding them back. And we talk about 5 leadership abilities. So we ask, are we creating too much complexity? Do we need to simplify, right? Leadership ability 1, do we need to simplify? Number 2, are we not delegating and elevating? Like we're holding on to the vine and we're creating bottlenecks. We're holding on all of these decisions. We're not trusting and letting go. That holds us back. We're not maybe being good predictors. Did we pick the right goals? Are we doing a good job of looking out and saying, what does the world need from us? Is this, in alignment with what we want to do? Are we picking the right goals? The 4th leadership ability, are we systemizing the company, or is our chaos, our randomness holding us back? And then the 5th question is, do we have the right structure, which is that accountability chart, the right people and the right seats? So it's difficult for me to say without a little bit more context into what is happening in terms of them getting stuck. But if we're utilizing the system, we're coming together every quarter, what's working, what's not working. And then I think part 2 of her question is, what do we do? What do we do now? So I have to, again, operating from the assumption that they're in that 90-day cadence. And if so, maybe it's time for them, right, to reset their annual plan. Here we are on the cusp of 2025. So look out and do a little bit of a deep dive and maybe look through the lens of those 5 leadership abilities and ask ourselves, where do we think that issue is? Why are we hitting the ceiling? Create a new issues list and then go back to that BTO, massage it, and address what they think are the right answers. I am sure they can figure it out. I'm sure they're very smart people, just need to get themselves in a room and start talking about it. What would you add to that?
I'm actually going to say that your answer is great, Jennifer, and move to some more, because what I love about these webinars is as we answer questions, people have more questions, so they're piling up. And folks, I put our email addresses in the chat and in the Q&A, like, please reach out to us. We'd love to answer your specific questions if we don't get to everybody today. Because we have a few follow-up questions related to that last one, Jennifer. So we're a small company. We cannot see the value of a 10-year target. Like, how do you set a target when that just feels so ephemeral and far away?
Yeah. So we talked about that range, right? And so I think it depends a little bit too on where they're at in their journey in terms of their business and the, how seasoned the business is. And so sometimes when I'm working with an organization that is fairly new, they do have a little bit of a harder time seeing 10 years out because they're still in those formative stages, those early stages where they're figuring out is what we're putting out into the world what the world wants from us, right? They're still kind of modeling the products and services. And so clarity on 10 years is just too unclear for them. So in those occasions, they have picked a 5-year target because that was clearer to them. So, but when people aren't sure, I like to bring us back together and we just begin ideating. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? And if we just kind of keep asking that, well, what would that look like? And why does that matter? We will generally get there to that 10-year target. But if it's so fuzzy, I'm kind of, again, operating in assumption land. It might be because of where they're at in their stage of business.
Yeah, I agree. And we're not so married to what the number of years is target. It's a directional long-term destination that drives everything.
So, yeah, exactly.
You're going to love this, Jennifer, because there are a couple questions around 3 uniques. So first up, we are struggling with finding those 3 uniques. How do we know what is really unique for something that our clients really value? If we have live bodies to answer the phone, is that a good example? Another person struggling with the 3 uniques, like how do we differentiate ourselves from the competition? Help us out with the 3 uniques.
Yeah. And so typically, what I'm telling clients is that it is the combination of them together, typically, that makes them unique. And then I want you to go back and look at those psychographics and then think about emotionally how you can explain that. So let me give you a quick example. I had a subcontractor who targets contractors that build homes. And so we're walking through this exercise, and as we go through the psychographics, the emotions, and then I say, okay, tell me all the reasons why people choose you and how you would address these uniques. Almost always, they just they pile out our ideas and themes begin to form, right? And so almost always I can see, okay, here's 3 predominant themes. All these things fall into that bucket. And so maybe it's just the language that isn't exciting to us. So here's an example. When we were talking about this subcontractor that works with home builders, one of them said, we have a really great program for scheduling and making sure that, our jobs are getting done. The other person used the language of, we meet your deadlines. They're saying the same thing, but if I'm talking to my target demographic, and again, emotion, what's going to resonate with them? Yeah, meet my deadlines. I don't, that's what I care about. Like, take care of me. And so it might just be the emotion language that isn't exciting you. And so thinking about what is that emotion that you're trying to solve for them, and just using that example that I just illustrated there, 2 ways to say the same thing. One taps into the emotion of why it matters for your target market.
Yeah, it's great.
Hope that helps.
Do you mind if I take the next one?
Please do.
Because you love the marketing stuff. I'm a former CFO. I love the number stuff. So John is asking, is it okay if our measurables are revenue targets? Okay, John, no employee, except for you maybe, is going to get excited about a revenue target. Like you have to make that revenue something more tangible for them. So ultimate simplicity is if you sell widgets, your measurable might be like number of widgets that you've sold. But it's often something that connects them to that bigger 10-year target and gets them excited and helps them understand from a very basic, tangible way, like what defines our growth and measuring growth. And it's not something on your P&L. I promise it's not. It's something that everybody from the admin to the frontline worker to the engineers, like they're all going to get it. And we drive this thing to get to that revenue target that you want, John. Like it will drive the revenue, but it will not actually be revenue when we say measurable on that VTO, because not everybody gets excited about revenue. I don't know. You can disagree with me on that. What do you think, Jennifer?
I agree with you that most of the teams that I'm talking to, there are a few teams where they just get jacked about, right, the dollars, but most often that is not the catalyst for momentum for the entire team per se. Now we have to help them connect the dots, right? And say, okay, when I do this, it helps us achieve this bigger vision. But that's the intent. It's magnitude of scope. I understand the role that I play in making that possible because it's a language I speak and understand.
Yeah, it's the vision shared by all. It's great. Let's see. Let's move over to, we've had a few questions around, like, do people need an implementer to do all this stuff, Jennifer? It's a resounding no. Do you want to explain why?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You absolutely can do this, right? Gino Wickman was passionate about, we're giving this stuff away, right? And so here it is, right? You have the traction book, you have all the tools that are on EOS worldwide, right? So it's all there for you. And so you can take this and you can absolutely utilize these tools and implement EOS on your own.
Yeah. And I think people also don't realize is we love to help, even if it's not paid, like just call us, email us, like we'll always hop on calls with people. I often say to people, I use the metaphor of trying to get from New York to LA. Like you can drive from New York to LA, you're gonna get to the destination. It might take you a little longer. You might take some wrong turns. That can sometimes be what happens when you're self-implementing. You can also take a commercial airline and you're gonna get there a little faster. And then you could even take a private jet. So there's all kinds of different ways to get there. And depending on how fast you need to, or what kind of complexity is in your context, it can be helpful to work with an implementer to get there faster and not take those wrong turns, but you absolutely can get to the destination no matter what. So we are here if you need our help. There's a few questions around 3-year pictures. Let me find one of those because that was definitely a theme. I think first, can you just explain like the purpose of the 3-year picture? Like, how does it actually paint that picture for people?
It's most important about creating this clear image in your mind's eye. And so I'll share, here's my belief system around this, right? So even before I knew about EOS, I would write a 3-year picture for myself in my life and write a very detailed narrative around what it is, what do I want in my future? And I would create this visual imagery that would go with it. And I would hang it up in my closet because I saw it every day, but it was still kind of my private little thing, right? And I'm just such a big believer that you put that out into the universe, right? And we see this image in our mind's eye. And then when the universe shows that thing to you, you go, I recognize that. I've seen that before. I'm going to go get it. So we all create this clear picture and it sets the stage for us moving to that clear picture in our future. So to me, that's the power of it, is the visualization of what we want and then creating a plan on how we're going to get there. What would you add to that?
Well, I'll answer another piece of the question that somebody was asking around it was, okay, how do you handle the measurable section in the 3-year pictures? So similar to what Jennifer's saying, it's painting the picture of what are the numbers we want to be hitting at that point. There's typically a revenue, a profit one, and then that non-financial stuff in the measurables. Somebody asked specifically if you're a property management company, what might that be? And just a reminder, those measurables appear in the 3-year, the 1-year, and the 90 days. So they're repeated across those timeframes. A property manager, I see like a lot of unit counts as a measurable there. Do you have anything else you've seen on that one? That's the most common one I see.
Doors. Yeah. That's the language they speak, right? Is how many doors are we managing? And so That's a perfect example. Now, everybody in the organization goes, oh, we're managing 1,000 doors today and it's gonna be 5,000. Okay, I get that now, right?
Yeah, that equals growth. That equals opportunity for me. That helps me to share that vision. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see, we are down to our last minute here, Jennifer, and we have tons of questions. Folks, we're going to try to email you answers because there's still 20 that we didn't get to. So we will get an answer to you. I'm going to let Jennifer wrap this up for us.
Well, as Megan said, we wish we could stay here all day and answer every single one of your questions, but we can't. And so here's our email. Know that you can reach out to us. We just want to thank you for committing to running a better organization, for you committing to taking steps to live your EOS life, doing what you love, with people you love, making a big impact, being fairly compensated with time for their passions. That's why we're doing all this stuff, right? And so that's our wish for you, that you can live your EOS life. Implementing the EOS system helps you on your journey to doing so. We're here to help you. Reach out. You're going to receive the recording in a couple of weeks. They've already been sent the survey information, right, Megan?
Yeah. And because I keep telling them my phone number and I don't know yours. What is yours, Jennifer? I will put it in the chat.
208-230-0743.
Okay, it's in there. We love calls.
We do.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining. It was great having you here today. And thank you for the great knowledge sharing, Jennifer.
Thanks for allowing me to share. I loved it. Thanks.
See you all next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.